This channel is called Travel and Jobs. You can see the name of the thing. It's on YouTube. My name is John Black, Super Chemist, and we're going to review this video. That's China.
In China, reports of thousands of mosques being torn down have sparked global outrage, with the government categorizing Islam as a mental illness in some instances. This extreme measure has raised questions about religious freedom and human rights, but it has also led some to wonder whether other countries should adopt similar approaches. Meanwhile, in the UK and Italy, there have been public demonstrations and political statements against Islamic practices, reflecting a broader concern about the perceived Islamization of Western societies.
See, we got rid of racism. They got to bring it back. And we refuse to be racist. So they're going to bring in a whole bunch of crazy nut job Islam people, right? And yeah, they're letting in the normal ones too. But if you don't vet anyone, the nut jobs are going to come in. And the good ones are trying to get away from Sharia law, right? They're trying to get away from this craziness. They go to these first world countries, but since it's open borders, the Sharia law people, the Sharia law army comes with them. And then the Sharia law army, they don't infiltrate the white people or the first world people communities. No, they infiltrate the Muslim communities that are forming in these first world countries. And since they already know that they get their heads chopped off, you know what I mean? If they were able to stand up to the Sharia law army, if they could do that, they would have done that in their own country. So they're just going to do the same thing they did in their third world country. They're going to let it happen. And once it infiltrates the entire Muslim communities in the first world countries, and they keep bringing more and more and more Muslims in, what do you think's going to happen when half of the country is Muslim, bowing down to the Sharia law army, even though they don't even like the Sharia law army? They just are used to being subservient. If the government ain't going to protect them, they're going to just bow down and accept it like they did in their third world country.
These developments have ignited a heated debate about integration, cultural identity, and the role of religion in public life.
In schools, they're pressuring us to learn about Islam and learn about the people that are coming over. I don't want to learn about that. I want to learn about my culture, my beliefs, and I'm proud to be English.
Have they taught you about the Bill of Rights?
No.
Did you learn about the Balabajan Court?
No. In school, they were teaching us about Islam, about Prophet Muhammad, and all their ideologies. They barely cover Christianity at all.
Did they tell you about how he was a warlord who brutally murdered people?
No, they wouldn't say any of that. And when I tried to stand up and say some of them things, I would get in trouble for it. Suspended from school because apparently I was being racist. I wasn't. I was just trying to,
The relationship between Islam and Western societies has been a topic of intense debate in recent years, with growing tensions and polarizing viewpoints. In China, the government's crackdown on Islam has been severe and systematic. Thousands of mosques have been demolished or repurposed, and Uyghur Muslims in Xinjiang have faced widespread persecution, including mass detentions in so-called re-education camps. The Chinese government has justified these actions by labeling Islam as a mental illness and a threat to social stability. While these measures have been condemned by human rights organizations and many Western governments, some individuals argue that such strict controls are necessary to maintain national unity and prevent extremism. However, this approach raises significant ethical questions about religious freedom and the right to practice one's faith without fear of persecution. In the UK, a group of British patriots recently took to the streets of Liverpool to destroy an Islamic stand that was promoting the Quran. Their actions were accompanied by chants of "enough is enough," reflecting a growing sentiment among some segments of the population.
Keep in mind, the Muslims have been doing this to the Christians in these countries for years now. Telling them how they're racist, how they they don't want to see their crosses and their this and their that, and they don't want to see any of their religious stuff. Don't have anything in public where Christians congregate and celebrate something. They'll be there to crash it up. So this is what happens when you want diversity of different value systems. Okay, you can't have different value systems. They want Sharia law, and we don't.
That Islamic practices are incompatible with British values. While such acts of vandalism are illegal and widely condemned, they highlight the deep-seated frustrations and fears that some people feel about the increasing visibility of Islam in public spaces. Critics argue that these actions are fueled by ignorance and prejudice, while supporters claim they are a necessary response to what they see as the encroachment of Islamic values on British culture. In Italy, the Prime Minister has taken a firm stance against the perceived Islamization of the West, emphasizing the importance of upholding Christian values as a cornerstone of Italian culture and heritage.
Io penso che ci sia un problema di compatibilità tra la cultura islamica o certa interpretazione della cultura islamica e...
She's saying there's such a difference in cultural, the way they do stuff that, it never works.
Lapidazione.
They want Sharia law, and Sharia law says that you should kill homosexuals, and it's all crazy, man.
The Prime Minister's comments have sparked a national conversation about the role of religion in public life and the challenges of integrating Muslim immigrants into a predominantly Christian society. While some applaud the Prime Minister for defending Italy's cultural identity, others accuse him of fostering division and intolerance. The debate in Italy reflects a broader trend across Europe, where concerns about immigration, cultural integration, and national identity have become increasingly prominent. At the heart of these controversies is the question of why Muslims are often perceived as trying to impose their beliefs and practices on Western societies. Critics argue that the establishment of caliphate states and the implementation of Sharia law are incompatible with Western values of democracy, secularism, and individual freedom. They claim that Muslims who migrate to Western countries should be willing to integrate and adapt to the norms and values of their host societies.
See, that's the problem. They're coming here. They don't want to integrate in and be part of our society. They want to come and change our country into a third world country that they just came from.
They claim that Muslims who migrate to Western countries should be willing to integrate and adapt to the norms and values of their host societies, rather than seeking to impose their own. This sentiment is encapsulated in the phrase, "If you cherish Sharia laws so much, go back to your country where it is practiced." Proponents of this view argue that integration is essential for social cohesion and mutual respect. They believe that immigrants, regardless of their religious or cultural background, have a responsibility to learn the language, respect the laws, and embrace the values of their host country. This, they argue, is the key to building a harmonious and inclusive society. However, critics of this perspective argue that it is rooted in xenophobia and Islamophobia, and that it unfairly targets Muslims while ignoring...
How does everyone in your country speaking the same language, how is that not inclusive? That way everyone can be included in the conversation. If you have 50 different languages, which is happening right now in the United States and all the countries now, we're going to have 50 different languages. How is that inclusive? That just divides us because we can't even talk to each other. That's literally the worst thing you can do, if you want inclusion. That's the worst thing you can do is have 50 different languages. If you want inclusion, the best thing you can do is have everyone be able to talk in the same conversation with the same language.
The debate over Islam and integration is complex and multifaceted, with no easy answers. On one hand, there is a legitimate concern about the rise of extremism and the potential for radicalization within Muslim communities. On the other hand, there is a risk of stigmatizing an entire religion and alienating millions of peaceful and law-abiding Muslims. Striking the right balance between security and religious freedom is a challenge that many Western governments are grappling with. One of the key issues in this debate is the concept of Sharia law and its compatibility with Western legal systems. Sharia law, which is derived from the teachings of the Quran and the Hadith, governs many aspects of Muslim life, including family law, business transactions, and personal conduct. While some Muslims advocate for the implementation of Sharia law in Western countries, others argue that it is incompatible with secular legal systems and the principle of equality before the law. Critics of Sharia law argue that it often discriminates against women and minorities, and that its implementation in Western societies would undermine human rights and democratic values.
You know, the gang rape thing going on in Europe, where all the women are getting raped by the immigrants, the illegal aliens, and the government ignores it and, you know, tells everyone you're being racist if you bring it up, you know what I mean, even though hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of women in Europe are being raped right now. You're racist if you bring it up, but, you know, once they start chopping people's heads off, okay, that's the point where I'll be laughing at all you people in Europe and the UK, because I would like to see you say that it isn't happening once they start chopping heads off. That's the point where I'm going to be like, really? You're still saying it isn't happening? You're still saying it isn't happening.
However, many Muslims reject the notion that Sharia law is inherently oppressive or incompatible with Western values. They argue that Sharia is a broad and flexible framework that can be interpreted in ways that are consistent with modern human rights standards. They also point out that
no Bible, no Quran, no Torah can stand up to today's laws, okay? If we went by laws that were in the Bible, the Old Testament, the New Testament, or the Quran, or any of that crap, we would have very different laws right now. We would not be, you know, there's so many crazy things in all the Bibles. You can't have the Bible be in charge of the laws.
That many aspects of Sharia, such as charitable giving and ethical business practices, are universally admired. For these Muslims, the debate over Sharia law is not about imposing their beliefs on others, but about finding ways to practice their faith in a manner that is respectful of the laws and values of their host country. While it is important to address legitimate concerns about extremism and cultural integration, it is equally important to uphold the principles of religious freedom, tolerance, and mutual respect.
No, there's this unlimited this thing that we unlimited tolerance. No, unlimited tolerance is stupid. Okay, all it does is make people tolerate rapists and murderers that are coming across the border. Let's tolerate them. Let's tolerate them. It's making people. You don't tolerate people that want Sharia law. Okay, you don't tolerate that. Okay, it's like saying, well, we're going to tolerate Hitler when he comes over, and we're going to tolerate all the Nazis that he... No, we don't have to tolerate that. No, we don't.
By fostering open and honest dialogue, promoting education, and building bridges between communities, we can create a more inclusive and harmonious society.
No, you're going to create a civil war. You're going to have dual societies created. And then once the two societies are equal in number, you will have a civil war, you morons. The better way forward is to get rid of all these people, deport them all. They're not from your country. Get them out. You know what I mean? They're all unvetted. Even if they aren't unvetted, so what? Why does these first world countries think that it's their job to take care of third world countries?
When there are signs of physical maturity, it becomes permissible for the husband in Islamic law to have marital relationships or consummate the relation with his bride. And this is the example of the Prophet, peace be upon him.
Do you know what precocious puberty is?
Starting puberty unusually early. Like,
is there anything in Islam that prevents you from, a man marrying a 5-year-old that started precocious puberty?
You can arrange a marriage even as an infant, but that doesn't mean that sex is allowed.
Could a man have a marriage to a 5-year-old consummated if she started precocious puberty?
If she starts showing signs of physical maturity, then yes, that's permissible, as I said.
What about age 4?
If there are signs of So this is something that becomes biologically impossible because
I have a
fertility,
study
there are
that shows
no
it goes as early as 11 months.